Lexington police say a driver intentionally hit Heather Haynes as she was getting out of her ambulance.
As soon as she stepped out of the driver's side door, a car slammed into her.
It threw me up against the ambulance, threw my leg up against the side of like a metal piece of the ambulance, and it was like completely folded up. You couldn't really tell what it was.
Did you pass out?
No, not one time. I just saw a car. I saw a guy who had long hair.
Yeah.
And I could see him laughing.
Yeah.
That's it. The only thing that I could think about was I got to survive because I have 4 kids at home and they need me.
Doctors had to amputate part of her leg.
When did you know you were going to lose your leg?
Well,
Guys, welcome to our first episode of Still Strong. We have 2 special guests here. We have Rodney Overman, who has been a paramedic for 32 years, now retired.
Yes, sir.
And we have Heather Bivens, who is the subject of today's story. And she was a paramedic for 4 months before a criminal tried to kill her. And that's today's story. If you want to look up Heather's story, it'd be Heather Haynes at the time, right? Mm-hmm. So you can look up some of her links online, and I'll provide you guys some links in the description. I do want to start with a gift. We always start our videos with a gift. And I want to say this is a really special book. This is my copy and my daughter's copy, but we're going to give it to you. And it starts with a quote: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes a way." And when I read that quote, the second part, that really reminds me of you. What stands in the way becomes the way. What got in your way became the way you were going to get through whatever you need to get through.
absolutely.
So I was really happy with that. And this is the book.
Thank
You'll
you.
see a bunch of turned down pages in there. And this, I would like you to open at the end.
Okay.
But a wonderful, wonderful book. It reminds me so much of the lunch that we had together in your story that you guys are about to hear. An incredible story of resilience, grit, action, and not letting anything hold you back. Just even now, thinking about it gets me very emotional. Rodney, would you do a quick introduction to yourself?
Sure. My name is Rodney Overman. Retired back in 2014 after 32 years as a paramedic. Started out in the fire service. And when I heard about Heather's story, couldn't resist speaking with Mike and talking about featuring it. So hope you guys enjoy it.
So let's start with Heather, your background. Tell us about your family growing up, where you're from.
Let's see. I was born in High Point. My mom,
North Carolina. Yep.
Yeah. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 4. So me and my brothers just kind of went back and forth. I have 2 older brothers. We were always really close, still really close with one of them. My mom and I have a stepdad, and we're all really close-knit family.
Yeah.
Probably even more closer now than we were before my accident.
Yeah. Family. Right now you have 5 kids.
I have 5 kids.
Yep.
Yes.
5 kids. That's incredible. And you're 33?
33.
33 with 5 kids is remarkable.
15, 14, 7, 6, and 1.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you have plans for?
Maybe another one.
Wow, that's incredible. That's the all-American family, in my opinion. We need to have more than just the 2 or 3 that happened today.
I've always wanted more, a big family than just, a couple kids.
Tell us about EMS and how you got into EMS and why you got into EMS.
Okay, so in 2017, I knew that I wanted to go back to school for something. I just didn't know what. So I started looking up stuff on the community college's website about, different jobs that I could get into, and I found EMS, and the description stood out to me, all the stuff that was in it, that I was like, oh, that would be nice, that would be cool. And so I did the EMT, and then I decided to go to paramedic school the January after I finished, which was in August. So January in 2018, I started paramedic school. But I wanted to start paramedic school because I wanted to do all of the more advanced things that EMTs couldn't. Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds cliche, but I also want to I want to help people. And I was a CNA before, so I like doing that. Mm-hmm. So I thought, I'd like doing this too.
Well, I fell in love with it when I was just on the fire side. Yeah. And I saw a need back in the early 80s for more.
Where were you in the early 80s?
I wasn't born yet.
There you go.
But yeah, there's always the adrenaline rush because literally from 1 second to the next, you have no clue what you're going to be doing. As soon as the tones go off, your life changes for whatever amount of time it takes you to finish that mission. So there is an element of excitement to it, but that never turns into a career. People who get into it just for that, they don't last long. You have to have that true desire that Heather was speaking of to help people.
It's interesting because I got a friend of mine who's in current Special Forces. He's a special weapons sergeant, and he is he's studying now to become a trauma nurse because he said there's nothing that can replicate what happens when you're in an active combat except maybe the chaos. He said he likes the chaos and the rush of being in the EMT trauma type environment. So it's really interesting. So tell us how, walk somebody through that needs to understand what you went through that day. Trying to understand, for me, I didn't hear, I knew what happened to you, but I didn't hear the story from you. This is the first time I've heard the story from you.
So like physically, mentally?
Yeah, physically, mentally, everything. So you're going in to get some aspirin or something. Into the story. Tell me.
Okay.
You pull into a parking lot.
Okay. So we actually had gotten a call while I was trying to go into Walmart. And so I got back in the truck. We went on our call. And then about 12:30, we got off our call. And I was like, I still need my doll. Well, we couldn't go to the same Walmart we were going to go to because it was closed. So we had to go to the other Walmart in Lexington.
Okay.
And, well, I pulled up. And I got out, and as soon as I turned around, I heard a revving engine, and I looked over. And
can I ask you, did you notice the car before the revving engine?
Not really.
Okay.
I wasn't really paying attention to other cars. I was paying attention to getting my radio out and things like that. Yeah. But then I heard it, and I turned around, and he just floored it and hit me on the side of the ambulance.
How close was he when he was revving the engine?
I don't know, maybe 200 feet.
Okay.
And they said that he did it at like 35, 40 miles an hour. But it threw me up against the ambulance, threw my leg up against the side of like a metal piece of the ambulance. Yeah. And it was like completely folded up after he did it.
Folded up, you mean like
crunched.
Like that way.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah, like completely crunched together. You couldn't even really tell what it was.
Did you pass out?
No.
Wow.
Not one time.
Sometimes they say when you have a traumatic event, you don't feel anything. Did you?
Oh, I felt it.
You felt it?
Oh, yeah. So as soon as he hit me, like all I could do was scream. Wow. And that's all I even think about it right now, it makes my leg hurt.
Wow.
It hurt a lot, but I couldn't really think about the pain. I had to think about, how am I going to get out of this? What am I going to do? Yeah. Because at that time,
you're actually going through that. You're going through that in your mind.
Oh, yeah.
How do I survive this? How do I get away?
Oh, yeah. I looked down and I could see that there wasn't much of my leg left.
When he hit you, he drove right into you. Mm-hmm. Were you right next to the car and he pinned you? Mm-hmm. Or were you back and he hit you and he pushed you into the car?
So I was kind of like this. And when he started coming forward, I kind of leaned back a little bit. Yeah. But when I leaned back, I didn't lean my legs back. Yeah. And he hit, I don't know how this leg survived and this one didn't. Wow. But this leg was like pinned up against the car and that piece of metal that I was telling you about.
This is the left leg, or the right leg.
Right leg. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a bruise on this leg, but that's about it.
Yeah. Hey guys, I wanted to introduce to you the sponsor of this first Steel Strong interview. Edwards Incorporated is a veteran-owned leader in custom steel fabrication, crane and rigging services specializing in industrial mechanical and electrical construction, structural, and pipe fabrication. We're collaborating on custom bullet traps, mechanical targets, and impenetrable military-grade super materials that you're going to see a lot more of coming up. This is a major shout-out to Edwards and their crew. They are a bright light in today's world.
But when he backed away from me, and when that happened, I looked down and I saw that there was no way I was going to be able to walk. Yeah. Because I tried to take a step and I just fell to the ground. And he was going to try to He's trying to back up.
So he backed up. You were pinned against you were screaming. You were pinned against the ambulance, and he starts backing up. And
I
you
fall.
To the ground.
And then
he's going to come back and hit you
he's
again.
trying to. And then there was some guys standing beside the ambulance on the other side, and they rushed around. And they were yelling at him. And
teammates, or are they just...
No, they were just bystanders.
Wow. Yeah.
And they came and they pulled me out of the way because he was trying to turn his wheel and come back and hit me again.
Oh my gosh.
And so they pulled me out of the way, and they thought he had a gun because he kept trying to reach for something.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was just on the ground, and my leg was completely open and shattered. You could see bone all over the ground and blood, and so my partner, he got out of the passenger seat and came over, and he's of course panicking. Anybody would be panicking, and he's trying to help me.
So
and
he was in the passenger seat when the ambulance was hit with you. How long did it take him to get out?
Probably 20 seconds.
Wow.
And he came over there, and I was already on the ground, and he was, panicking. And I said, I need a tourniquet. And he was like, yeah, we'll get that. So, like, at that point, he really didn't know. Like, he wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
He was just kind of like, oh, crap, my partner is hurt. And so he was having trouble getting into that paramedic mode.
Yeah, I can imagine. Just imagine if you're a family member, how do you handle it? He's a fire chief who had his daughter. I've trained his daughter for a long time, and he was out here, and she blacked out in training, and he did not react the way I thought he would. And he said, my entire life I've been very calm in how I deal with people in traumatic situations, but when my daughter, I shut down.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And sometimes it having had incidents with family members, sometimes your hands work and your mind is working, but you don't realize it is.
Yeah.
I happen to know your partner that night. I've known him for a long time, a paramedic who I have a lot of respect for.
Yeah.
So just the fact that he was panicking tells me how bad the situation was.
I can't imagine. I mean, first of all, I'm just trying to imagine myself being in your shoes, if you will, and being hit and how I would react. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking the normal thing to do you'd think would be to pass out. But you were able to keep your wits about you. You're able to say, go get me a tourniquet. That's incredible. Isn't that incredible?
Absolutely.
That's incredible you're able to do that. Now, why? Why do you think you're able to be so calm? Because when you told your story the first time over lunch, you were very calm, you were very collected, and you went through one of the most traumatic things you can go through in life, which is somebody's trying to kill you, and you lose a limb. How do you stay calm?
Well, so since that day, I've told everybody that the only thing that I could think about was I got to survive because I have 4 kids at home and they need me.
That's your why.
That's all I could think about. And I didn't want them to think, I didn't want them to have to know the details of how mommy died. She didn't fight, or she needed this, but she couldn't get it, or she didn't get it, or, everybody was too panicked, or it was too bad. I wanted them to know that you just got to do it. You got to calm down, take care of it, and go on.
Yep, it's a great lesson. So you try to teach your kids that. When he hit you the first time, could you see who it was? Could you look into the car, or you just saw this car coming?
I just saw a car. I saw a guy who had long hair.
Yeah.
And I could see him laughing.
Yeah. Wow.
That's it.
Like sick. Yeah.
And
what about when he backed up? Could you see his face any better then?
Nope. I saw his side of his face and his hair, but I didn't see his face anymore after that.
And when did you decide that you were going to make it? You were going to get out of there alive. When did that?
As soon as he hit me.
The first time you decided, I'm going to get out of here alive no matter what.
Yep. Wow. I said, this is not how I'm going to die.
That's right. Got 2 months left to do. Wow.
I did.
And tell me about then, after he backed up, what happened after that? Because he was going to come back and hit you again.
So that's when the bystanders came over and was helping me out. And they were like pushing, his door was open and they were pushing him and trying to get him to stop. And
his door is open, so he must have just jumped into the car, left the door open, and tried to hit you with the door open?
After he hit me, he opened the door.
Okay.
So when he opened the door, they were trying to kind of like push him out, and that's when he started grabbing for something.
I'm amazed that civilians,
Me too.
really helped you.
They are amazing people.
Because most people just, today you're kind of like, you're shocked. You don't even know what to do. So I'm really happy.
And they weren't older civilians either.
Yeah.
They were probably 18 and 19 years old.
Yeah.
And I've talked to them several times since then. I haven't talked to them lately.
Yeah.
But they are amazing people.
Yeah. That would be interesting to get their perspective at some point. Really.
They're amazing.
Yeah. Wow. So why were they there, do you think?
They were actually just there on the other side, just talking.
Yeah.
And, they were with their friends and their trucks and things like that. And they were just in the right place at the right time.
I have a different view of it. I think they're there because somebody put them there
That's right.
to save you.
That's right.
Yeah, I really think so.
Yep.
Yep.
Right place at the right time.
Yep. So then after that, now he backs up again to hit you again, and you get scooped away. The two guys pulled.
Yep, they
pulled
poked
you
me
away.
under my arms and started dragging me because they knew I couldn't stand up.
And what happened to the guy?
And that's when they were like trying to get him out. And
Just two of them. There were two of them. Yeah.
And he shut the door real quick and he sped away. And that's when he hit the side of the Walmart building.
Yeah.
And then he went inside.
Yeah. And then what happened to you? Where did you go from there?
I was laying there screaming and crying and waiting. And I had several like volunteer firefighters. I mean, the whole cavalry came.
Yeah.
Bunches of people. And they would all just stay beside me and they were rubbing my head and telling me it's okay. And
How long does that normally take? A few minutes?
It just depends on the call and where they're at.
Yeah.
I mean, that night it took probably 7 minutes and they were from the base.
Yeah.
And usually that would have taken probably about 14 minutes.
Yep.
So they were hightailing it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
My supervisor got there in record time.
So how does the call get made? Does your partner make a call in and say that Heather's been...
He said, medic down, medic down.
Wow.
And I can still remember him doing that and saying that. And the feeling I got when he said that, it was just like it all went all through my body. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. This is just not in my head. I'm not dreaming about something.
Wow.
And when he said that, I knew this is bad.
Yeah.
And so that's when he did it. And they all came.
You said the cavalry. Who's all? A supervisor?
Supervisor, like several medic units, several firemen, volunteer firefighters. I couldn't tell you how many cops came. Sheriffs. There was bunches of people.
And so tourniquet goes where?
Right here. So it goes above the injury.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can't go on a joint or anything,
Right.
so it had to go like on my
So right
thigh.
here is, you're saying about 6 inches above the knee, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they only had to put one on, thank God, because it hurt
Yeah.
very badly.
Yeah. Have you ever had one put on before? No. So they put it on, they grind it down, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they twist, and all I got before was, this is going to hurt.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So I was screaming while he was doing it.
Now, was this before the second unit got there? Mm-hmm. Before. So
This was like probably 60 seconds after he hit me.
Okay.
And my partner had gotten out.
He took care of you right away. Because otherwise, that's enough blood flow there. How long would a person last losing their leg?
5 minutes or less.
Yeah. Yeah.
He came over there and he kneeled down and was just kind of like doing this. And I said, tourniquet.
Yeah.
And that's when he was like, yeah, we'll get that.
Well, here's what's incredible about it. Just think about anybody else in your shoes that would have been hit. They're not going to have it. Most likely, they're not going to have any kind of a tourniquet. There's no way they can survive. If it's 5 minutes and something like that happens, how can they?
Unless, some bystander kicks in as a good Samaritan and uses their belt or something else to create a tourniquet.
Well, that's also a good point. I think everybody should have something like that in their car.
Yeah.
Or
That's
on
a
their
good
person or something when they, go hiking or for car accidents or other people, they should have one of those.
Yeah, so that's one of your advice. That's what you and I talked about too. You should always have it in your truck or your car, and yeah, that's a good point.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, did you actually go into the ED at Lexington, or went straight to the pad med air care?
Straight to the pad. The medical director of Davidson County, the EMS, came out. She approved for them to give me some more medicine because I was still in so much pain. And so they just took me straight from the ambulance straight to the helicopter. And my my partner was so upset because they wouldn't let him ride with me. He was very, very distraught about that.
Why wouldn't they let him ride?
Because there wasn't enough room in the back, and there's only like a certain amount of weight.
There's very limited room in a helicopter, and there are weight limits.
Yeah.
I actually worked as a flight medic, but I had to do fixed wing because I was too heavy to fly on the helicopter.
Fixed wing is a plane.
Yeah. The flight nurse to work with me would have had to weigh 98 pounds, and that just didn't work out. So.
So you then were lifted to Wake Forest Baptist, and tell us during the flight. Are you still in incredible pain? Or are you drugged up enough at that point that
I was pretty drugged up. When I first got on there, I was in a little bit of pain, and I kept telling the girl, who I still talk to this day.
It sounds like you've made some great friends in this experience.
I have.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
You turned something that is a tragedy into something that's a triumph. Tragedy to a triumph.
Yeah. She held my head the entire time I laid in her lap, and she held my hand and told me it was going to be okay. And I kept telling her that I need more medicine. I'm hurting. And she said, well, I can't give you any more. If I give you any more, I'm going to have to intubate you. I said, well, just intubate me then. Yeah. And she said, I can't do that. Like take my airway over and
so there's
you put
tube.
It's called an endotracheal tube, and it's actually inserted down, and that way you take total control of the airway. But you have to sedate to keep them from gagging.
Wow.
Can be done, but you try to avoid that as long as she could maintain her own airway.
Which was probably a good idea, because about halfway through I just kind of went off to sleep. And I don't remember them getting me off the helicopter or going down the hall.
You remember everything clearly up to the point you went to sleep, and then
until I got into my room in the ER. Wow. And then I remember everything after that until I went into surgery at about 4:30 in the morning.
12:35 a.m. Then you were in surgery by 4:35.
I think it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
All right, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
To be able to do all that. And I don't know what typically, as a civilian, somebody has no experience in that. It sounds like she was able to rock through that pretty quickly.
Wake Forest is a level 1 trauma center.
Yeah.
That's the highest level in North Carolina, or the country for that matter. They're very good at what they do.
Yeah.
You work with what's called a golden hour.
Yeah.
She got definitive care within that hour. She obviously needed surgery, and to be in that type of surgery in less than 4 hours is fantastic.
Wow, it's incredible.
They were amazing.
Yep, it's incredible. All right, so then after surgery, let's. I want to try and get you through to the next morning when you're up. So
couldn't tell you.
You don't remember because you were after surgery. When did you wake up?
Apparently, I woke up that morning sometime, but then they knocked me back out because I was in too much pain.
Okay.
So for the first 4 or 5 days, I don't remember.
Wow.
Yeah.
So because just it's strictly pain related.
Yep. Wow. So they had me on a Dilaudid pump, and
what's that mean?
So it's medicine.
Yeah.
And I had a button. Every 15 minutes, I think it was, I could push it.
Okay.
And it gave me more medicine to help my pain.
Wow.
And so I was having so much that I was just not with it.
When did you know you were going to lose your leg?
2 weeks after.
You didn't know? Mm-mm. Wow. Even when you looked down at your damage, and you said it was kind of flipped up, crushed, bones, fragments were...
So my whole leg, when I saw it, when I was finally awake, it had a big fixator on it. So there was a bunch of pins in it and this big old cage looking thing on it.
Yeah.
And I also had a wound vac.
Yeah.
I was going into surgery like every day.
Wow.
They were trying to debride and try to see if they could put things back together because I had bone missing. It was still at Walmart in the parking lot.
Wow. So they didn't take the leg right away, you're saying?
So
oh, wow.
it was that Friday I had the accident. I think it was that not that Monday, but the Monday after that.
So about 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That they came in and told me we're going to have to make it a decision. You can either keep your leg or you have to amputate it. But if you keep it, then there's no guarantee that you won't have to have it amputated down the road. And they said that I would have to have like 30 some surgeries if I kept it.
Wow.
And it still may not work.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do that. I had 4 kids.
Yeah. Yeah. We wanted to get back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And what was when you're sitting there and they tell you that, how quickly did you think you could get back to the kids and be able to participate again?
Well, I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to at all.
Yeah. That's why you made the decision to take your leg.
Well, I thought that if I got my leg amputated, that I could get back quicker, but I didn't know if I was still going to be able to, be a paramedic.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I can do it.
Yep. Yep.
So I did it.
So Rodney, you had a question for her on how you get through these things.
So fire, EMS, law enforcement, very close-knit community, but we're sometimes guilty of having a sick sense of humor, interpreted by others maybe. Understand that a gentleman on your shift, a medic that I've known for a good while, brought you something at the hospital. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, he brought me a Barbie doll who was also an amputee. So I left it beside my bed for kind of like a reminder of what I wanted to be and how I wanted to be it.
You wanted to be a Barbie doll.
I wanted to be a Barbie doll.
So was it really a Barbie doll with an amputee, or did he take the leg off?
No, it was really a Barbie doll that had an amputee.
Wow.
They have a whole line of things out like that now.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I thought it was really cool because I felt like one of my things was I felt like I wasn't ever going to be pretty again.
Yeah.
And I've always had like a low self-esteem. And so when I knew that I was going to have my leg amputated, it got even worse.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be that Barbie doll who was pretty and had an amputated leg.
Wow, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually a source of motivation for you.
Yeah.
And he knew that. He clearly knew that.
Yep.
Wow, that's incredible. What a great story.
Yeah.
That's a good place to take a non-commercial break. We're going to try some coffee out. Some Black Rifle coffee, Teddy Roosevelt. That's pretty incredible. And then this one is Rambo's. He's got a funny sense of humor. Very kind of a interesting sense of humor. Okay, let's try them out. The espresso cream. I can tell you that one's going to be my favorite right away. I like chocolate, but I'm not sure if I like chocolate as much. All right, try this one. This is chocolate.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, it's good. And that is caramel vanilla. So what do you think?
I like the mocha one.
Which one do you like?
First one.
I figured you'd take that one. And I'll take this guy. All right.
And I haven't tried it yet, but I've seen that they have one for the fire service called 5 Alarm. So I'm going to order some as soon as I leave here. It's all very good.
Jonathan, thank you very much. Awesome stuff. Absolutely love his artwork. This one's just hilarious. I just think this is a hilarious one.
It's delicious.
Yes.
Very good.
It's got enough caffeine in it to make you mad because you slept 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get back to you've gone through almost the first 24 hours, and then you kind of were out of it for about 4 or 5 days, so you don't remember much of that. Mm-hmm. Can you start talking about the training and rehab? When did you decide you wanted to go back? You were going to go back to EMS. When did you decide?
Before I got my leg amputated.
So is that in the hospital? When you're in the hospital?
Oh, yeah.
You said you're going back. Mm-hmm. And why did you decide to, that's going back into the fire that just put you where you are, but I'm going back anyway. Why?
Because I knew I wasn't done.
Yep.
Because I knew I had just started and I had something I had and wanted to do.
That's great. Yeah.
And my kids needed to see that you don't give up. You get back up and you keep doing it.
Yeah.
So I had to. There was no choice.
How old were the kids, the oldest kids at the time?
Oh, so 3, probably almost 3, almost 5, 9 and 10, I think.
Yeah, 9 and 10 at the time. And so the elder ones understood what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And how helpful were they to you?
Oh, they did everything for me.
Wow.
And it's not just because I asked them to. They would help. I didn't even have to ask.
Yeah.
And they would be right there. What do you need? What can I get for you?
Yeah.
You know, like if the little kids were needing something, they would immediately go help the little kids and get them whatever they needed.
Yeah.
So they were a lot of help.
Can we talk about something that might be difficult to talk about? Nathan. What he's in jail now, correct? And you never were confronted with him. You never met him. You don't know anything about him other than he was a person who ran you down. Yep. When does he get out?
May.
This is in a couple, 2 months. And so I told my wife this, and she said, I cannot believe they're letting him out after such a short period of time. She's just back from rehab, just back getting her life together, and they're letting him out. Yep. How do you reconcile that? How do you deal with that?
I've wanted to be mad. I've wanted to tell him how I feel, and but that's not going to fix anything. It's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
That's not going to make me a better person.
Yeah.
So I just have to move on. I have to move on with my life. He has to move on with his, and I just hope for the best.
Yeah.
Did you have to testify? Were you part of his trial?
I didn't have to testify. I did go. I was told that if I wanted to say something, I could. But when I got in there, I couldn't.
Yeah. You thought you would?
Yeah. It was too soon after for me to look at him and say anything.
How close was it? How many months?
Maybe 2 or 3.
Wow.
And he pled guilty. He knew what he had done. But the fact that I saw him and, in handcuffs and all that stuff.
Yeah. You couldn't do it. Yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah. How do you forgive somebody like that? How do you do it?
Or do you?
What other choice do I have?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is me holding grudges and being mad at him gonna do? It's just gonna make me miserable.
Yeah.
It's not gonna make him miserable.
It's funny because not funny, but somebody told me once that if you get bit by a snake, you don't go after the snake and try and chop its head off. You cut yourself and take out the poison. And otherwise, it sounds like what you're doing is taking the poison out. Yep.
Little bit by little bit.
Yep. And how's it working for you?
Really good.
Good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like I've done very well through the whole thing.
Yep. You said before that you're very prayerful. How did that part of your life play in the days after, and up till now? How does that work for you?
When I'm really feeling like I don't know what to do, or that I'm feeling like angry or hurt or sad, I really just like to be by myself and pray and say, just do what you want me to do. Tell me what you want me to do. Tell me how you want me to act and be. And usually it just, I don't know how or why or where or when, but it just there's grace.
Yep, that's incredible. Yep. Is it usually when some people say they'll go to bed with a problem and they'll think about it, they wake up with a solution, or do you just get it all of a sudden during the day?
Just all of a sudden during the day, and like it calms me and it soothes me. So I don't know, it's just worked in my favor a lot over the past couple of years.
Yeah. Can you talk about Jared? So Jared is your husband today. You were married at the time. Can you talk about that transition and how that happened? And
so
by the way, I met Jared, and he's a remarkable human being, like Heather. And I actually asked him, would he be willing to get on camera? And he said he doesn't think he can do it because it's such an emotional story for him. He doesn't think he could do it, and he doesn't want to be seen
Yeah.
that way. So, but a remarkable human being.
So paint the big picture for us. Medic down, everybody comes. If you're not committed to a mission and you're close, you're going.
Everybody's going. Yeah.
Everybody goes.
Is that what they say? Is that they'll say medic down, medic down?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And some agencies have radios with orange buttons on the top of them, and you can push that button and it automatically switches you to a different frequency, and you're direct with communications at that point. They already know your location.
Yeah.
Somebody pushes that emergency button, the world's coming. Administrators sitting at home
Get in their car and they go.
are getting up and going.
It's incredible.
So
it's really something.
So your shift essentially shows up. Turns out there was a very special person down the road that showed up. Tell us about that.
So the other unit that was in Lexington that night had my husband now, Jared, on it. Mm-hmm. And him and his partner came. And they came and, helped, of course. And then after that, he never left my side in the hospital, after the hospital, all the way up until now. He has never left.
But why? Why? Because he didn't know you before that, right? Didn't really know you?
Just shift mates.
Yeah. I've maybe talked to him once or twice before that, like just in passing. We ran a call together before I got hurt, and he yelled at me, and I didn't really like him very much. But now and after, it was just like we had this bond, and he would come up there. He'd come up to the hospital, and he'd sit with me and bring me lunch and dinner and breakfast. And he went to rehab with me, and he didn't even know me that well.
Yeah.
And so since then, and after that, he literally was at my house every day after my accident, and I went home. He very rarely ever stayed at his apartment because he was at mine helping me.
Wow.
And I don't understand why or how, but it was just like, here's this person.
Yeah.
God just, right time, right place.
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we call it God winking.
Yeah.
Somebody, he puts people in your path for a reason. And we Rodney and I talked about this. We think he put you in our path for a reason too. Because there's a story here that people need to hear about the incredible sacrifices that people make, like yourself, to let other people live, because you're making huge sacrifices out there. Yeah. Rehab. Can you talk a little bit about rehab and training, and how did you? It seems to me that it's hard already to become a paramedic and to be able to go through some of the physical testing and some of all the rigor of getting through that, but then you have to do it with a prosthetic leg. How does that work? How do you get back in shape and back in with the ability to lug and yeah, I'll bet.
So like a week or two after I got out of the hospital, I started physical therapy, and I didn't have a leg yet. So I was just, doing exercises with my stump and my arms and stuff, not losing muscle mass. And even then, the people at physical therapy were telling me, you're not going to do this. You're not going to get back to this.
Get back to EMS.
Yeah. And they were just like, you need to go into something else, maybe nursing school or.
So those are some of the people that were not necessarily believing in you.
And it really got me down, because I was like, these people are my physical therapist, and they're going to tell me I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so month after month, I would go and physical therapy almost every day sometimes. And at one point, I couldn't wear my prosthetic, so I just felt like I was going for nothing. But I kept going, and I kept doing exercises, and I feel like it's helped me now with having my prosthetic, because I didn't lose what I could have lost if I didn't go when I didn't have my prosthetic.
Yeah.
It was hard. I hated it.
What was the hardest part of the training?
When I first had my leg, trying to do like they call them step-ups, and they're like that.
Yeah.
And I barely even knew how to stand up on my prosthetic, much less step up onto a step and then step back and keep.
So it'd be like the aerobic steps where you come up, and down.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
And then they would want me to balance on my prosthetic.
Yeah. And this today is not it's second nature? Or?
Yeah, like I can do it fine now.
Yeah.
Then I thought it was going to kill me.
When you said balance in your prosthetic, you're saying lifting a leg in balance?
Yeah, so lifting
One leg.
Lifting my left leg to balance on my prosthetic leg.
Wow.
And just kind of like, they wanted me to do an airplane.
Yeah.
And to stay like that for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. And this is in rehab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But it happened. I did
Wow.
it.
Yeah. And how often do you have to keep on doing this kind of training today?
I don't
You
go
don't?
to physical therapy anymore.
So you've because you don't need to do this you don't need to work out anymore? You do a workout on your own, at home or in the gym or what?
Gym.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So no actual, like physical therapy at a place. I just do it at my own pace.
Yeah.
And that's helped me with, getting back into EMS and with the agility test and things like that. It really helped.
Tell me about the agility test. What do you have to pass?
So you have to do a stair chair up a fire tower steps. So it's like 3 or 4 stories.
Yeah, I've seen these. We have a military academy right around the corner, and they have a fire. Is it 3 or 4 stories? Do you know?
It varies. Most of them are 4.
Okay, yeah.
So you have to go up doing it backwards, and then you have to do up doing it downwards.
So you're going up backwards, and then down.
So you hold the back, and you go up, and then you hold the bottom and go down.
Wow.
You have a partner helping you.
Yeah.
You also have like a dummy on it, and it weighed like 180 pounds.
Wow.
So, and you're doing it on concrete steps.
Yeah. No forgiving. The concrete steps. Yeah.
And then
How often how many times do you have to train on it in order for you to feel confident you could do it?
well, I didn't really train with that. I just kind of got my legs stronger to know that I could do it.
Yeah.
Like I knew what I would have to do from doing it before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I got it done, but it was not easy.
Yeah.
We also had to do CPR for 2 minutes and get on your knees and things like that. That wasn't bad, and I had to do a scenario, and I haven't done one of those in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
But all in all, I got through it, and it was the stair chair was the hardest part.
Yeah. And tell me about how active you're able to be with your kids today.
I get to do everything with my kids.
Wow.
Nope.
You can get on the ground, play around. No, nothing's holding you back. That's amazing.
I go into the playthings, that they have at like Mickey Mouse, at McDonald's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And go in there, and I'm working on jumping on a trampoline with them right now.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
That's been one of my goals to do with them, and it's going fine.
Yeah.
So we used to go, before my accident, we used to go to the trampoline parks.
How close are you to be able to do that?
I mean, I can do it. I just can't do it like real high yet.
You can't flip at all.
No.
No, but I would love to see. I'd like to get some video of that, because I'd like to post it. Well, along with this video, I'd love to be able to see you out there with your kids, even if it's just the little ones. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible to see that.
We get out there, and I can play basketball with my bigger kids.
Yep.
Everything. We go swimming during the summer.
Wow.
Go to the beach on the sand.
Yeah. And you keep the prosthetic on the entire time?
Mm-hmm. So I have a water leg.
Okay.
So I'll only use for like the beach or pools, so it doesn't get my good leg messed up.
Yeah.
It can rust.
Steel, because is it aluminum or what is it? Steel?
I think it's aluminum.
Okay. Yeah. Oh. It's just I don't have any experience with this. You probably have some experience with this, but it just seems like you'd be giving up so much of your life when something like this happens. But it sounds like you've been able to accomplish as much or more, and your relationships are deeper and stronger than they ever been.
Yep.
That, I'm telling you, that is God winking at you, saying, "Hey, you like you said, you're not done. You got a lot left to do."
That's how I've felt for a while now. That it just all lined up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Let me ask you, when did you, after, there's one question I forgot to ask you, and that is, there's always progress and there's steps back. It must have been some really dark times. When were the darkest times that you had?
So when I got out of the hospital,
After they took your leg?
it was very, very rough because I went home. First of all, I was going to a whole different house because me and my husband then had just separated.
Yeah.
And
this was just before you got the...
We separated really when I was in the hospital.
Jeez. Yeah.
So when I got out, I was moving out of my house into a brand new house. And so I was going to a brand new house with a bunch of different people, with my kids, and no leg.
Yeah.
And
everything is brand new. You
I
can't
didn't know
even,
what to do.
Yeah.
Like most days I just sat there and cried. Because I didn't know how I was going to, do life with just one leg and my kids and things like that. And that's where Jared came in, a lot of it. But, and then the times that I had problems with my knees, I didn't get to get on a prosthetic really for a long time, for like 8 months after, because I had a tear in my knee that they didn't catch. And so when I had that, I had to have surgeries on my knee, and I had to have like cadaver ligaments and things like that in my knee.
So when you were rehabbing, you didn't have a prosthetic for the first 8 months?
So I had a prosthetic that November, so 3 or 4 months after.
Okay.
And I kept telling the doctor, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. And that's when they did more x-rays and CTs and stuff. And they said that I had a ligament torn completely apart from the accident.
Wow.
And so I couldn't be on a prosthetic until the May after that, because I had to have several surgeries and had to heal and things.
Because it didn't happen in July, was it originally? August. Okay. So it wasn't until May, the following May, that you started really getting back on track.
Yeah. And then that July, so for 2 months I got to wear a prosthetic. And that July I got a really bad knee infection.
Oh man.
It was septic arthritis. So I had to have surgery for that. In fact, I made the doctor discharge me so I could take my kids to the beach like I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going to let them down again. But I had to stay off my prosthetic then for about 4 months. So really, I didn't get to be in a prosthetic until January 2021. Like really be in it and get going.
So that's 18 months, 18 months after. So that 18 months must have been ups, some decent ups, but a lot of downs.
Oh yeah.
Over and over again.
Oh yeah, there was.
But do you have a particular moment where you're just sitting there saying, I can't do this anymore? After
I got my knee infection.
That was the May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was over it by then.
Yeah.
It was just like setback after setback after setback, and I just couldn't do it anymore. There was dark times where I didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And I would tell Jared that, and there was times that he'd have to come home from work because he thought something was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hate admitting it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. Then it was real rough. There was nothing else for me. I felt like everybody else was going to be better off. My kids were going to be better off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dark times.
Yeah. And how did your kids help you in that time? Jared was there the whole time. Yeah, because we met Jared at lunch, and I could tell. Rodney mentioned on the way in, you could tell how much you guys you're like teenagers, and arm in arm, and walking in, you could tell how much he adores you.
Yeah, everywhere we go.
But the kids, how do the kids help you through that? Because they're usually looking to parents to be the strength in the family. But you were in a deep, dark place.
There'd be several times that I would be so upset and just in one of those darkest places. And one of my kids would just come up and say something or do something, and I'd be like, did you just say and do that?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And it would just be like one of those God winking moments, don't give up just yet.
Yeah.
And it was touching.
That's incredible. There's a book, and I think it's called the 5-second rule, and there's another one called the 5-minute rule. But the 5-second rule is when you're unsure of yourself, you count back from 5 and you move forward. Because you need an event. You need something where, okay, I know I need to do this. 5, 4, 3, 2. I think her name is Mel Robbins. She wrote the book. I think it's the right book. She might have been the 5-minute rule. The 5-minute rule, and I've trained thousands of athletes. The 5-minute rule, I always told them, when you don't want to train, you just go for 5 minutes. And what happens is once you start, you stay with it. 95% of the time they stay with it and they go through it. So the 5-second rule is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yep.
You don't sit there and debate. No, you go. So it sounds like you are
I felt
that
like
kind of
if
person.
I was just going to sit there and think about it. I was going to get in my head.
Yeah.
I was going to back out. So I was just like, okay, got to get this done.
Yep. Yep. So I got a question for you. Here's the your advice to young parents. Your advice based on your life and all the things you've gone through. Do you have any mom's advice to young parents today? Can be on anything. It doesn't have to be on this incident, what happened to you. It can be on anything in life.
That your kids deserve to see you happy as well.
That's very good.
That if you're miserable, it's not going to make them happy. It's going to make them miserable. Also, that parents need to show their kids that, they can do it. And just because that they're adults doesn't mean they're not going to go through hardships too.
Yeah.
And that it's okay for adults to go through hardships.
That's great. That's great. Now, I didn't give you this, I was going to tell you this ahead of time, but you knew right away what your answer was. That's pretty remarkable. Great answers.
Thanks.
Rodney, anything else?
Mike and I are blessed. He was able to come up with a sponsor who challenged him to do something good, and I'm blessed to be included on that. And our reason for choosing you to be our first Still Strong interview was that you are a success story. And unfortunately, in line of duty injuries, we don't have a lot of success stories amongst our community. And Mike trained my kids, and he always taught them about grit. And grit sometimes makes up for talent. But you are the epitome of grit, to go through what you've gone through, and number one, want to come back, but number two, make that fight to get there, and knowing what it takes to function in the field as a medic. You're a huge inspiration to old folks like me, and I hope she's a huge inspiration to the world.
Please open your card. My wife picked that out.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
I am grateful to God and Rodney for connecting us. This is a small gift from Edwards Incorporated, a North Carolina-based steel company. We look forward to keeping you in our lives, Mike and Maria Keating.
Yes. Yes. It's great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I'll put you in touch with Edwards at some point. They're just really good people. I love those guys.
Okay.
I was introduced by another family like Rodney to them, and they're just really good quality people. And Jared would like them as well. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Please comment down below, and we're going to follow Heather and her journey over the next several years, but certainly over the next several months to see where you go with it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yep. Thank you. Can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very kind.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay strong.
Yes. Still strong.